Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Erin Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, financial planner and wealth manager, and I'm joined this week and every single week by my dad, Jeff Lapidus, wealth manager and retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind. First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage. And then when they're done enjoying their assets, we help them pass them on to the people that they love, whether it's their children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Rob, my dad, and I watch their money every single day, and that's why they call us the retirement coaches.
Good morning, babe.
Good morning. We're still looking for the big guy. He's out in California. I mean, I thought he was going to be here to share the joyous news for Team Jeff, which is...
Jeff is a grandfather.
That's right.
He is out of the office. He is on assignment.
On assignment.
That's what they used to say when journalists were, they were abroad.
They're on assignment.
Yeah, I always thought that sounded cool.
He's on... My sister and I keep joking that he is on his lifelong assignment, like he was literally born to be grandpa. So, congratulations, Dad. Are you there? Are you there? There! Congratulations!
Welcome. Well, they got me back. They tried to cut today short, but it's okay. I'm here on the show.
Well, we'll take you for the time you'll give us. We know you have other important plans today.
Well, I wanted to thank you for those comments because I hope that I do resemble that remark.
Jody, my sister, yes, on more than one occasion over the last several days have described how, most people are lucky to have two sets of grandparents at some point. So it's, Grandpa Jeff, Grandpa Rob. You're just going to be straight grandpa, no need for any other qualifiers.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to be here today, and unfortunately, I find myself in California again. Oh my God, I escaped once, and it's great to be back here, though, and obviously great to be back with all of our listeners. And before we start our show, as usual, we do have a little bit of housekeeping and remind everybody there are lots of ways you can keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. Log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can click on the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. Or you can click up on any of the pop-up boxes that appear that say sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. Rob keeps the last 18 months archived on the website, along with a whole host of other excellent content available for you. Clips from the show, YouTube clips, podcasts, recordings, so you can listen to full-length episodes of the show if you'd like. In addition to that, I think we've got a blog. There's quite a bit up on the site for you to take a look at if the 2 hours on Saturday are just not enough.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about our Coach's Corner May 2026 newsletter that is quickly. We're speed running this month.
Yes, it's about to be our old newsletter.
Yeah, I'm in the midst of constructing the June one as we speak. But we got some great articles in the May 2026 newsletter that we hope you enjoy. The first one being The Voice of Experience, Advice on Aging from Older Americans. More than 2,500 Americans aged 65 and older were asked what advice would they give younger people on preparing for getting older. 49% said to focus on health, 37% said to focus on financials. Although I found the best answer here, the 24% that said focus on outlook mindset.
Right, because that literally will cascade to everything, right?
If you have, you may be of limited means. Your health may not be what it was. But the one thing you can control is how you deal with these externalities. And
Certainly.
Having a strong, very rock-solid mindset will help get you through just about anything. So I can't believe only 24% said mindset, but I
don't think a lot of people think that way. But not to mention my sister again, but I will. And she's quite wise, and now that she's a mom, maybe even more wise. She said to me that every morning she wakes up and she said, "This is going to be a good day. Doesn't matter what the day is." And now I think I annoy you with that. This is going to be a great day every day, and I do think it makes a difference.
You just need to persevere. You got to be mentally tough.
Eye of the tiger.
Exactly. That's my outlook on it. You just, expect nothing and you won't be disappointed. No, really. You have to be, you got to have rock solid. Because, if you're pampered and you're leisured and, you've let
expect nothing.
Right. And if you let the creature comforts get to you, you become, like we saw this happen we were just at a conference and someone brought up Rocky 3. And Rocky, by the third movie, had become rather leisured. He was affluent. He was indulgent.
Resting on his laurels.
Right. And what happened? The guy with a stronger mindset came along and knocked him on his behind. I mean, granted, he had to, go and get back the mindset, but I thought that was a great point that we had to go to a conference on Medicare, and someone brought up a great point about this very thing, about mindset, and used Rocky 3 as a...
I'm sure all the listeners are like, wow, Erin, you must have married someone quite similar to your father, because he's only brought up Rocky 3 on this very show numerous occasions.
No, I'm in good company. And our next article, the race for AI could be driving up your power bill. After nearly 20 years of relatively stable prices, the U.S. electricity rates have increased almost 15% between 2022 and 2025 on average, outstripping general inflation over the same period. Some consumer advocates are putting the price increase squarely at the feet of data hyperscalers that have propped up all over the country. And just to put this in perspective, by mid-2025, there were over 590 power-hungry data centers in use, with another 225 set to come online by the end of 2027. So,
wow, that's a lot in just 2 years.
And this story has been all over the news cycle because of the enormous energy demands and the enormous physical footprint that these data centers have.
And the enormous investment that it takes to build these.
Exactly. And so we have the almost perfect storm of events here. Conspiring to raise prices for consumers. We've got an explosive new demand for energy. We've got an aging power grid that has been held together with duct tape and bubble gum. And we also have a series of unfortunate weather events that have strained the grid as well. So, what can consumers do? It starts with smart technology, maybe retrofitting the house with some solar panels, some smart technology as far as when lights go off.
Or we could do it as they once did. You just rise and set with the sun.
What do they call that? The Arcadian rhythm? Circadian rhythm? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's certainly candles. No, I'm kidding on that one. But yes, being fanatical about, keeping things to an absolute minimum when you're not in the house or not using things is a step in the right direction. Because,
and I mean, this is a great point, only because we're seeing pressure from quite a few areas on finances at this point. You know, we have rising gas prices that have stayed consistently higher. I was listening to yesterday talking about the driving season beginning with this excellent holiday weekend. We have more drivers, and gas prices on average are up between $1 and $2 a gallon across the country from last year. That's a pretty significant difference. And then to know that just to be inside your house is now costing more money because of increased electric bills, that it's important to see, you know, places you can cut back. It might make sense because you can then have those funds for other things.
Absolutely. And our next article, REITs offer income and diversification. This is a great article for anyone that has any knowledge gaps in how REITs work. What are the pros and cons? What are the risk matrix? This article is going to have you covered from top to bottom. And our last article, what can you learn from your tax return? We just got through a tax season, but don't stuff that tax return away just yet. There's valuable information on there that you can use to make sure that your finances are staying on track. Are you contributing enough to your retirement programs? Can you contribute more? How does your income look as far as interest goes? Could you be doing more there? So there's plenty of information on that return, so you might want to just scrutinize it a little bit, see what you can learn before stuffing it away. And that is your 2026 May newsletter in a nutshell, and be on the lookout for the next one because it will be here shortly.
That's right, June 1st, 6 a.m. You'll all have it in your inboxes, and if you would like to have it in your inbox, please just log on to the website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon. Rob will be sure to send it out to you every single month. If you'd prefer, you can send him a personal email, robert@jblfinancial.com, if you would like the newsletter and you're having trouble with the website.
Yeah, just give me your preferred email address that you'd like to have it sent to. I'll put you right in the matrix and make sure that you get it 6 a.m. as soon as it drops.
Awesome.
And we do appreciate that. And just a reminder, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Before we start getting into our subject matter today, I wanted to go back, Rob, to this the last article that you talked about in our newsletter, which was, what can you learn from your tax return? I had a very interesting coaching session yesterday. I'm sorry, the day before yesterday, because I was on the plane yesterday, with one of our clients discussing required minimum distributions. We found out that we were sending them some money every month, but because their accounts had grown at the end of last year, there was some more that was needed to be sent to them. And they talked to me about how, unfortunately, they had been having to begin to make quarterly tax deposits because they hadn't been withholding enough. So, fortunately,
well, they didn't know they weren't withholding enough. You kind of gave away the lead there.
Well, right. So, what happened was I asked them to take a look at their tax return, and they pulled it out, and I just noticed that. And really, what I started examining their tax return was their 1099s, and I found that one of the spouses was currently still working, not really part time, but she was a full time travel agent. And she was withholding less than 10% for federal income taxes from her taxes. I also noticed that they weren't withholding any federal income taxes from Social Security. So when we did the math, we looked at these, and I basically said, hey, if you start to withhold adequately, then you'll be paying your taxes during the year instead of having to do quarterly withholdings and or paying a large lump sum at the end of the year. Certainly, if they don't want to do that, the alternative, and we've done this, I know Erin has really set this up with many of our clients, which is to do a larger withholding from their required minimum distributions as a way to cover things up.
That's right. So our broker-dealer allows us to send any amount that you request directly to the federal government. So we don't have to even send a distribution to you. We can just make a direct withdrawal from your account to pay taxes. Now, obviously, you're paying, if it's coming from an IRA account, you're paying taxes on that distribution because it's still coming out of the IRA, even if it's going to taxes. But we don't have to increase the amount. We can literally just send the exact amount that you'd like out to the federal government, which if you're someone that would prefer to do it that way, we do have that capability. However, just like you mentioned, Dad, we really prefer and find that it does become very effective that for every source of income that you have in retirement, you have a game plan for tax withholding. Some distributions are treated differently in terms of federal and state taxation. So in Missouri and in Illinois, Social Security is not taxed at the state level, so we don't have to worry about that. However, they are both taxed at the federal level. So we want to, if we can withhold from Social Security, which we can assist our clients in doing that, why not withhold from that income stream? When you take distributions from qualified accounts that are taxable, why not withhold from there as well? Just like when you were working, for most people, you were receiving a paycheck, you already paid your taxes. Why create a part-time job in retirement by having to deal with quarterly withholdings, making sure that you're sending enough money to meet the threshold so you aren't penalized at the end of the year? Why not just do it consistently, and then this is one less thing you have to think about?
Yeah, it was also interesting that this particular client of ours had approximately $30,000 of taxable income from her work. I also did mention to her, and she hadn't really thought about this, even though she was subject to required minimum distributions, she was still eligible to make an IRA contribution. So we could have really deferred the taxation on, approximately $8,000 or so of her current earnings by making an IRA contribution, though she'd have to pull 4% out ultimately. She still get a tax deduction for.
So kind of recycle it, like take her RMD and then take maybe some of the net amount of that RMD and move it back into the IRA to take the deduction.
Yeah. So what I suggested to her is let's try to do this incrementally. And we talked about this, I think, even last week on the show. Social Security doesn't make it easy or really even automatic for you to be able to hold federal income taxes. When you're making your election, and I found this out, they don't even ask you about it. So you have to get a separate form and file it. Fortunately, Erin has this and made this available to me. And so we immediately did it. And now with all of our clients, we're giving them the form, right?
That's right. In advance of, we know when when our clients are planning to elect Social Security. So as part of what we do is we'll have you complete the form on paper for us, and then we submit it on your behalf when we know you've made your Social Security election. You do have the opportunity to log back into your .gov or .me account and elect to withhold taxes electronically. However, I've heard from more than one individual that honoring that request takes a significant amount of time. One client said it was 6 months since they had submitted it online and they hadn't seen taxes withheld. When we send the paper forms in directly to a local Social Security office, within 2 distributions of them receiving your form, you will have those taxes withheld. So that means maybe 1 or 2 checks come out without tax withholdings. That's okay because, forever and always moving forward, you'll have the taxes withheld. So I still recommend sometimes paper's better. And in this particular instance, we have a pretty small sample group of determining this, but sounds like paper's better.
Well, that sounds very good, honey. I know that, again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I'd like to talk a little bit about a subject that really comes up in virtually every coaching session, which is clients are asking how they deal with old life insurance policies. And certainly we're going to talk a little bit about, or a lot about legacy planning, because certainly this is something that's now square front and center on my mind.
Is it top of mind to you?
It's top of everything at this particular moment. So I'd like to do that, but I'm wondering if we maybe should take our first break of the hour, and then we get back, maybe the text line will be filled up.
Well, as it were, I wrote down some text questions that we didn't get to last week that I wanted to touch on. We could touch on one of those and head to our first break. And our texter from last week writes, if I need income from my 401k within the next 5 years, does it mean that none of it belongs in the stock market?
Within the next 5 years? So I would say that we want to use a strategy for that 5 years worth of income. If maybe first we'll start with the first 1 year, we definitely do not want market exposure to. So 12 months worth of your income or capital needs, I would say we don't want market
Very
exposure.
prudent.
Then as we push out, I would say maintaining a well-diversified portfolio, and as we're getting up to new expenses, meaning in year 2, if you know you have some expenses above and beyond what your normal income will be, maybe you start moving those pieces to cash on a rolling basis. I don't think we need to hold 5 years worth of income or distribution needs in cash, but we do want to be cognizant of short-term needs.
I would like to know the size of the 401k that, it's one thing if she has $200,000, if she has $2 million in there, it's,
That's a good
it changes.
Point. It does change, but as you've probably noticed, we often find it's proportional, right?
Mm-hmm.
For most people, regardless of the size of their 401k, their income need from it should be about that 4%. So we're still taught, it's going to be a larger dollar amount inside of a larger account, but it still represents the same percentage income need. Right?
I think spiritually, the question... It's kind of do I become more conservative as I approach that date, that retirement date? And I would say probably not, because you very well could be retired longer than you were working.
That's a good point.
Well, when we get down to it, if we decide that we're going to stick by conservative principles when it comes to withdrawals from our retirement accounts, if we try to keep to the 4% rule, which is something that is pretty centered in our thinking and our planning, when we ask clients, do they want to have a portfolio that has the opportunity to not only provide the 4% return, but also keep up with the rate of inflation, they always answer yes. And if that's really the case, then what we're looking at is a portfolio that is well diversified, that typically has an exposure of at least 60% in stocks to 70% in stocks. So a modern portfolio is a portfolio that you're going to want to maintain for your whole life if, in fact, you're interested in withdrawing prudently, as well as having that portfolio keep up with inflation. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, I can say that, and I don't want to say anecdotally, but because we have 20 years of experience, for those folks that have done so, they've seen their portfolio grow. They've been able to make the withdrawals that they've wanted to do, and life is good. So don't get more conservative. You don't have to get more conservative in your investing, even though you may get a little more conservative in your thinking.
It's a good way of putting it. And with that, I think we'll take our first break of the hour. So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more of our stories, your texts and calls right after these brief messages.
Guido's Pizzeria and Tapas on the Hill, offering a taste of Spain in the middle of Italy, would like to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Guido salutes all the U.S. servicemen and women who made the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe and protect our way of life.
Repairing chimneys, walkways, porches, foundations, entire homes, anything to do with brick or stone, you need a tuck pointer you can trust, and that, of course, is Morelli. Morelli is a family-run business started in 1991, and they're only as good as their last customer. That's why when you check out the reviews online at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll notice that they're actual customers who are singing the praises of Morelli. So if you need a tuck pointer, you need Morelli. 314-645-1387 or MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Prestige Pools and Spas is St. Louis's most award-winning pool company, family-owned for over 40 years. Their in-ground pool, swim spa, and hot tub experts can make your dreams a reality. This Memorial Day, Prestige Pools and Spas salutes all the U.S. servicemen and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Well, welcome back. Straight Talk on Retirement.
On the Big 550.
KTRS. We didn't even plan that. All right. Rob, you said you have some text questions. We just ran out of time last week.
We did, but I jotted them down. And our next texter writes, I have $60,000 in a Roth IRA.
Ooh.
Do I leave it alone for the kids, or do I vacation with that money? Why not do both?
This is quite a philosophical question. I like that, though, to do both. That was actually the short version of my answer, I think, that you probably have the opportunity to do both. In our practice, we often look at Roth accounts as our opportunity to smooth taxes over a long period of time. So you have the big trip planned. Maybe you're pulling a little from the IRA account, you're maximizing the tax bracket you're in, but we can use the Roth to be kind of like the tax slush fund, if you think about it. We get to the top of a bracket, we use the excess from the Roth account to cover over our additional expenses. That way, not only can we allow the Roth to continue to grow, hopefully, but we can moderate your taxes over a long period of time.
Strategic use of the tax-free nature of the Roth to help buttress other expenses certainly makes a lot of sense.
That's right.
And with $60,000 in his Roth,
that's some nice vacations.
Right. It's multiple vacations. It's multiple opportunities to grow back whatever he takes out for the vacation. So there's plenty of party time ahead.
I definitely agree with that it sounds like you've got some nice flexibility with a nice chunk of Roth money, in that $60,000 range.
Doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be all of the above.
I would also just say that we want to, as opposed to, I've mentioned this to a few clients, I call it the lazy way, like, oh yeah, we'll just grab the money out of the Roth, whatever the dollar amount. You can do it that way. Or we can really try to maximize our tax situation. We know over the next couple of years we have some additional tax opportunities for individuals over the age of 65 with $150,000 of income filing jointly or less. We also know not only where our tax brackets are for the foreseeable future, because now they have been solidified until Congress potentially changes them. And then finally, we also know where our Medicare Part B premium increase brackets are. So using all of those in conjunction with one another, we can say where can we still pull taxable money if necessary, because what we find for most clients, the majority of your assets are inside of taxable accounts, in that you spent your working career putting into 401ks, they become IRAs. That's usually where the bulk of the assets are. Can we still continue to maximize those and then draw on the Roth when necessary? I think that gives us the opportunity to prolong the life of the Roth and also, like I said, assist with taxes over the long term, not just trying to take advantage of, I can pay no taxes for a few years and then you're in a trap because you use the whole Roth.
Don't be in a trap.
Right.
And our last texter from last week writes, I know you guys aren't accountants, but do you have an idea of the range of the 12% tax bracket?
Yes, we do have an idea of the range. The very top of the cool thing is the very top of the 12% tax bracket, married filing jointly, I believe has been bumped up to $100,000. I'm going to confirm that right now. Last year it was $89,000 married filing jointly. But
if you go over the 80, let's assume for it's 100 and your salary was 110. Not all of the 110 is going into that new tax bracket. You're only the $10,000 that's over and above the 12% tax bracket will, at that point, be taxed at the higher rate.
That's right. It is. We have a progressive tax system, which means, yes, your last dollar is the most expensive dollar because as you move through the brackets, it's going to change the taxation of those dollars. So, yes, that was 2025. Let's take a look here. So it is $96,950.
We were very close.
But as we said, we're not accountants, so you do want to chat with your tax professional, but strictly the top of the 12% bracket, if you were married filing jointly, $96,950, so you have some extra room. And also the standard deduction is up to about $31,000. You've got an extra $2,000 if you're filing jointly of charitable donations. If you'd like to make them, they need to be cash, though. They cannot be like donations of clothes or time or anything like that. And you can still itemize those even if you are not itemizing your taxes. So some nice adjustments to the tax code for us over the last year.
Absolutely, and that gets us all caught up on last week. So we really appreciate the text, and we try to get to everybody, and then we hope that our texters were listening.
And again, our phone lines, we'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 841. And I have a little reverb coming on this side.
Oh. Okay, well, we're having a little trouble with your audio, Dad. So we're gonna carry on, and why don't we start with an email that we received from Judy this week. It started, Jeff and Erin, I've been a regular listener on your show for many years. I've enjoyed the banter between you two and appreciate how you share information with us. Rob and Frank have been great additions to your team, and it's fun to see the show grow. I agree.
We love that.
Isn't that nice?
And so she writes, I'm about 2 years from retirement. I have put off calling for a coaching session, but I plan on doing so. Over the years, I've accumulated several 401ks, not unusual, and IRAs from past employers. I would like to pull these together so I can more easily watch what's going on. Not unreasonable. Can I do this? And where is the best place to invest the money once it's all together?
So these are very common questions because many people have held more than one position over the course of their careers, and oftentimes they don't bring those retirement plan benefits along with them. They leave them in the 401ks that they were previously in. We find that as we start to work with clients and we're bringing everything together, this is an excellent opportunity, not necessarily when you retire, but prior to retirement as you're collecting everything, to start consolidating, not only to make things easier for yourself, but really to give you a nice picture of where everything is. If you're someone that's still working, I would always suggest that if you have the opportunity to move those assets with you as you go, bring them along, because you don't want to be in a position where you lose track of them. Every dollar that you've earned is important, and you don't want it to be lost to unclaimed property,
Certainly
anything
not.
like that. And sometimes, you think, oh, well, it's in this account, it'll always be there. Well, your 401k is really attached, if you are in a 401k, it is attached to your employer. So you're part of a group, even though that money designated in your plan is yours, as long as it's fully vested. But if your employer decides to move plan sponsors, your account is going with them. Now, you're going to get a notice in the mail, but you might toss that over the years, or you might not keep track of it. You might get to a point where you said, "Hey, I think I had an account over at, Fidelity or something like that," and now you can't find it. Could be that your employer moved to a new sponsor, so you can lose track of it that way. So those are things we don't want to do. So how can we help Judy with what she wants to do in terms of consolidating things?
The IRS provides rules for consolidating retirement assets. The rules, they can be complicated, so you need to be careful and execute them properly. The most efficient and effective way to do this is under a direct transfer, meaning it's going from the trustee to the trustee, so you avoid tax and reporting issues with the IRS. Very important. And I'll just give you some basic information on direct transfers. You may transfer money from an inactive 401k to an active 401k plan without penalty. This is called the direct sponsor. Caveat: you have to check with your current employer's plan sponsor that they allow it. They should, but just wanted to put that out there.
Also, let's just be clear for everyone. Inactive 401k means you're no longer contributing. Most likely you're no longer working there. You could have an inactive 401k at a current employer if you decided you were no longer going to contribute. But in this example, all of Judy's past employers would be considered inactive 401ks. They are IRS eligible to be directly transferred into her active 401k, the company she's currently making contributions to. But some plans do have limitations, so you want to check.
Always want to check with your current plan sponsors as to what they allow and what they don't allow. It should be that you're able to do it, but again, just want to double check. You may transfer money from an IRA rollover account to an active 401k plan without penalty.
So if you have a traditional IRA, you do have the ability to move it back into your 401k if you would like to do that. Now, that one's a little, that one might be unnecessary because Judy's approaching retirement, but that is an opportunity for you as well.
You may
I would mention here that a reason that someone might do that is because they're interested in doing a backdoor IRA.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. The next one is you may transfer money from an inactive 401k to a self-directed IRA without penalty. So this is what it means when you for many cases, you retire.
I left my former employer. I had a 401k there. It was inactive. I joined the firm. I rolled that money over into my IRA.
That's right. So you are able to transfer money from your previous employers into an IRA account. So, for example, if you begin work with an employer that doesn't have 401k plans, you may say, I want to consolidate. I still want to keep everything consolidated. I'm going to move it into an IRA account. So that's also an option. You may also transfer money from an active 401k to a self-directed IRA without penalty and still participate in an active 401k if you are over 59 and a half. So this is called an in-service distribution. There are some reasons why you might want to do an in-service distribution.
For instance, maybe the options inside your 401k plan are not as robust as you might like, and you would like some a little bit more liberal options. You might do that.
That's a great point. So that's definitely an option for you. The last one, the last one is you may transfer money from one IRA to another without penalty. So if you already have your funds inside of an IRA account, maybe at the bank, and you want to move it into an investment account with a broker-dealer, you can make those transitions. If you want to consolidate IRAs, you're able to do that. So the IRS does give you a lot of flexibility, but you do need to go from the same type of taxable account. So IRA to IRA, Roth to Roth. That's also true if we're talking about Roth 401k versus Roth IRA account. You want to make sure that you're maintaining the same tax nature of the account as you're making the transitions unless you intend not to. So for whatever, if you're taking distributions from an account, obviously it's going from your IRA to a bank account. You're going to pay taxes in that transition. We call that a distribution, not a rollover. So there are distinctions between how money moves. If we're moving from one IRA account to another, those are either transfers or rollovers. They're not treated the same. They don't have the same tax nature as an actual distribution. So you want to be careful before you make any moves, but you can but the IRS does give you quite a bit of flexibility because the goal is that you want your money to follow you, and you also want to be able to invest in the things that you would like to invest in. And so the second question is, if you can consolidate things, should you?
Very important.
Right. So we talked about wanting your money to follow you. That is important. But there also might be some other considerations when you are making the decision, should I consolidate everything? And
one of those considerations would be, what are the underlying fees being charged by the funds you're invested in? Right. So are you in the lowest cost environment across the board? Right, because you could have two funds that are invested in the same thing. They might even be called similar things.
and they can have different fee structures based on the plan that you are in. So you do want to check those things before you make transitions, because certainly don't want to pay more for the same thing if you have the opportunity to keep it less expensive.
And that leads right into our second our second criteria. Do the plans that you're currently invested in have a wrap fee?
Right.
So are there additional fees above and beyond that we can eliminate by consolidating?
And then to take it to the next level, what are your choices? Do you have more or less choices where you're going from where you're coming from? And even if you might have less choices, that can still be okay. It's just, are you comfortable with the choices that you have available to you in your active plan? Do you want them all to follow you?
The best question I see here, and the one we really have to focus on, is do you need access to any of that money prior to 59.5? Because once we consolidate things, you may lose options that you otherwise have, right?
That's right. So, and let's just talk briefly about that. So we all know, we talk frequently about the IRA rules. You need to be over 59.5 in order to make penalty-free withdrawals from a traditional or a Roth IRA. Penalty-free means in a traditional IRA, you are still paying taxes on the distribution, but you don't have that extra 10% penalty for having withdrawn prior to 59.5. There are some rules, there are some caveats to that will allow you to make withdrawals prior to 59.5 on a one-time basis or an ongoing basis. They also have special rules inside of the tax code to make early distributions. So we call that a 72T. Equal substantial distributions from your IRA for 5 years or until you're 59.5.
Whichever is longer.
Whichever is greater. So you're locking yourself into a specific distribution pattern. So again, we do have flexibility, but if you're under 59.5 and you're retired and you'd like or need money from your retirement accounts,
we're not consolidating.
We don't necessarily want to roll over our 401k into our IRA because 401ks have even more liberal rules once you've retired or left work or left your employer for distributions. They have what's called the 55 and over rule.
Correct. If you are not in service to that 401k anymore and you haven't rolled it over and you need access to some of that money, you have a way to get those funds without having to pay the 10% penalty.
And
the minute you roll it over to the IRA, you are no longer subject to the 401k rules. You are now under the auspices of the rules of the IRA, which, again, you are 59.5.
Right. So if you leave those funds inside of your 401k plan, you're over 55 years old, you can withdraw as much or as little as you like, penalty-free. Now, there might be expenses for withdrawals with the 401k plan they could potentially charge you. You will still pay taxes on the distribution. But if you're over 55, you're not locked into a distribution schedule as long as the money is inside of your 401k. So for many people that make the decision to retire before 59.5, but like we talked about previously, much of your assets are tied up in that 401k, you now have an opportunity to create some income for yourself for that 4.5 year period before you get to 59.5.
Very important. And you don't, by not rolling it over, if you did roll it over, you'd be subject to doing a 72T, and then you're kind of locked into that schedule. This keeps you from avoiding having to do all that.
Exactly. But as in with everything, what we would suggest that Judy does is first, you're going to want to go to your current employer and ask, will my 401k plan accept 401k rollovers? Then you'll go to your former employers and have them transfer the assets. The nice thing is most of this is done electronically. All of this is participant driven, which means you need to be on the phone to execute those rollovers. A lot of times it doesn't even have paperwork involved, and your new plan will request the funds from the old plan if you're eligible, and then you designate how those funds are going to be invested. So when we transfer money from 401k plans, it does not move what's called in kind, meaning the investments are going to move. It liquidates to cash inside of the plan, so there's no taxes to do this, and then cash is moved either by check or electronically into the designated plan. That means you'll be able to designate with your current 401k plan, am I making this current contributions? Is it going to be divided the same way my past contributions have been? Or do I want to invest this differently based on all new money moving over? So you have a lot of choices. We'd also suggest that you absolutely chat with a financial professional before you make these moves, because there's going to be some long-term planning involved in making decisions as to how income is going to be distributed. So we didn't really get into Judy's cash flow needs quite yet. Sounds like she's 2 years out from retirement, and we didn't chat about her age. So being 2 years away from retirement and not knowing if she's over 59 and a half, it's going to be important that she chats with a financial advisor, say, where's the best place for me to hold this money? Because, I'm not at retirement, but we're approaching it. And we are not approaching our second break. We are at our second break of the hour.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement right after these brief messages.
Simon Law would like to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend and salute all the U.S. service men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe and protect our way of life.
At Midland, we know sometimes all it takes is a moment for an idea to spark or to make it happen, a moment to find your dream or build one, a moment to start your forever. Or at least start planning for it. Whatever moments you have, Midland is here for them and can help you make them. Midland, brighter together. Visit us at midlandsb.com. Midland States Bank is member FDIC.
Sales Tax Holidays is now underway at Appliance Discounters. It's the perfect time to buy an Energy Star appliance. You pay no sales tax on Energy Star rated appliances, washers, dryers, dishwashers, and so much more. Plus, every appliance in the store and online are on sale. Huge cash rebates, 12 months interest-free financing. Sales Tax Holiday at Appliance Discounters. 5 beautiful locations are always online at theappliancediscounters.com. Their savings are your savings. TheApplianceDiscounters.com.
Proudly family-owned and operated since 1971, Di Gregorio's Italian Market at the corner of Daggett and Marconi on the Hill is your go-to store for all your authentic Italian and international favorites. This Memorial Day, Di Gregorio's would like to thank all those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
Hi, it's Julie Buck to tell you about a trusted family business that I've been working with for years, Easter Fence and Deck. Chuck Easter and his family have been the go-to fence and deck company in the St. Louis area for more than 70 years. And when it comes to sunrooms, Easter Fence and Deck offers the top-of-the-line Better Living sunrooms that are absolutely spectacular. When it comes to fences, decks, and sunrooms, I would invite you to do what my family has done for years and trust the family-owned Easter Fence and Deck online at easterfence.com.
Are you helping to take care of a senior-aged parents living at home? How many times are you getting a phone call to help them navigate daily tasks, from shopping online to running errands, doctor's appointments? It can be exhausting, and it can be frustrating for everyone. You need to check out Senior Concierge. It's a subscription-style membership dedicated to helping St. Louis area seniors stay connected and confident while living at home. It's as easy as an app, and it's just $79 a month. They'll get access to all the personal concierge support that can assist you with a wide range of needs, from dinner reservations to concerts, sports tickets, home maintenance, groceries, housekeeping, rides to and from the doctors, and so much more. Senior Concierge, convenient, confidence, and connection begins here. Become a member today. Learn more at seniorcstl.com. That's seniorcstl.com, or call 314-270-7800 or seniorcstl.com.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to our last segment of hour number 1 of Straight Talk on Retirement.
That was fast.
You know, the time really has gone by pretty quickly, and that's because of our listeners. So if you'd like to chat with us, give us a call, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. We want to wrap up this first hour of the show with a few texts that have come in.
Absolutely. And our first texter writes, I contribute the max amount to my Roth 401k through my employer. I make about $125,000 a year. Can I still contribute to a Roth IRA, or is it better to do a traditional IRA? I am 31 years old.
Unfortunately, no. You cannot contribute. You can't max out your 401k and also contribute to a self-directed IRA with income of $125,000 a year. There are income limitations. You can look that up on the IRS.gov website specifically, because we don't know if you're married filing jointly, but I'm going to say that no, in general, you if you're maxing out one retirement plan, you're usually not eligible to also contribute elsewhere.
I'd also say that if you do have an opportunity to get further tax-deductible contributions, you always take advantage of that, because taxes saved today are worth more than tax savings in the future.
That's right. You might want to, because you can't contribute anymore, you might want to refine what you're currently contributing. So with $125,000 of income, again, we don't know married filing jointly or not, you might want to consider making some of your contributions a traditional 401k, so getting a tax deduction for your contributions and then taking the balance of that and putting it into the Roth 401k. So we can do two things at once, but there may be a sweet spot or a threshold where it's like, hey, we need to contribute at least X number of dollars to keep you in a tax bracket.
Right.
And contribute that to the traditional side and then put the rest in the Roth. So you can be very strategic over the long term and still accumulate quite a bit on both sides. Maybe, and to your point, Dad, maybe more, because if you're able to take those tax breaks, maybe it's not going into, maybe now you've opened up another opportunity for yourself because you did some pre-tax contributions, some after-tax, and now you have excess funds, even more than what you currently have, it sounds like. Now you can create a third bucket of after-tax investable assets that are completely liquid, have no thresholds for age in order to access them.
Absolutely, especially at 31. And I guess the other thing would be is that you may be in a situation where you have access to an HSA plan.
Ooh.
Because of the healthcare plan that you're involved in. If you do, that's the triple threat, which is tax deductible going in, income tax-free growth while it's in there, and then tax-free coming on the way out. So
as long as you use it for medical expenses.
Yes, etc., which you probably won't need to if you're 31 years old. Woohoo.
Right, but you'd be building a really nice kitty of money for yourself, and especially if you're young, you can do the things that everybody that's in their 50s, dreamed about being able to do, which is maybe over the course of your working career, you're not tapping into that HSA frequently, but you're literally building a separate fund for yourself to be able to pay health insurance expenses.
Even if he just paid his Part B premiums, it would come in handy, and who knows what they'll be by the time he's ready to
you jumped ahead of me. The Medicare premiums, that's great. I'm thinking about the most expensive time to own health insurance prior to Medicare is between 55 and 65. If you want to be able to retire before 65 and you feel like health insurance is going to be a huge expense, being able to start so early might give you the opportunity to say, hey, I already set money aside here, and it's going to be tax-free for me to pay my health insurance premiums from that 55 to 65. And then if there's any left over, you still got it for your Medicare premiums. So this is not a situation where you're not going to be able to use these dollars.
If you take funds out of an HSA and you don't use them for qualified medical expenses, at that point you're just taxed on that money at your income rate.
That's right. It just becomes a taxable event to you. It's not there's no penalty, but
it almost becomes an IRA.
Right, but you lost the last piece of your tax-free nature.
Exactly. So, the only reason I mention that is, we might have a listener out there who's like, well, hey, what happens if I get all this money, I stuff it into the HSA, and then I don't have qualified medical expenses? Do I lose it?
Well, you're always going to have qualified medical expenses because you got premiums to pay.
Right.
And also this can be used for dental, vision, hearing. This can be used for anything that the IRS.gov website deems a qualified medical expense. Those which I listed are considered. Then also prescription medications, co-pays to the doctor, visits to the hospital, premiums for health insurance as long as it's not the plan that created the HSA itself, long-term care premiums, life insurance premiums. There are lots of uses for this money. So
There's literally no downside to stuffing as much as you can in an HSA.
Right. But, with your contribution limits, I think it's $3,300 this year.
And our next question, next texter writes, what is a backdoor IRA? I've never heard that term before.
It's actually called a backdoor Roth, and the way that it works is if you have priced yourself out because of earnings and your income is too high to make a Roth contribution, the way that you can do a backdoor Roth contribution is you make a non-deductible contribution to your IRA account. You take the IRA money that you made so for example, if you're over 50 years old, this year $8,600 is your maximum contribution. You make an $8,600 contribution to your IRA. It's not deductible. You can then transfer that money, or you can convert that $8,600 into a Roth. If you have no other IRA assets, this is a tax-neutral event. You took after-tax money, $8,600, put it into the IRA, didn't take a deduction, then you converted it into Roth, which would have created taxes if you took the deduction. However, you have to aggregate IRA assets if you have other IRAs outside of a 401k and you make the $8,600 contribution. This might not be tax-free for you, so you want to consult a professional, and you want to stay tuned for our next hour. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement plan. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to Straight Talk on Retirement. And as many of our listeners know, we always kick off our second hour with our smart choices about your healthcare segment.
However, we received a really thoughtful text that we wanted to get through first because it's a little bit complicated, and it took some time for our texter to put this down. So we kind of wanted to tackle that first, but we are not going to neglect our smart choices about your healthcare. We're going to get to that shortly. But
so if you have questions while we're getting through our previous text, give us a call, 314-931-5877 or 84126 on the text line.
And our texter writes, says, hi, I'm Annie. I'm 61 and a half. My husband is 65 and a half. We are both retired and have decent pensions and liquidity, so we don't need money at this point to sustain our lifestyles. We are planning to take Social Security this fall when I turn 62. We will then wait until husband is 70 at 2030 to take his. His Social Security will be around $4,500 a month in 4.5 years, while mine is less than half of that when I take it this fall. Does this seem like a good plan? Please speak to the topic with pros and cons. We expect the husband to predecease Annie. Thank you.
So this is an excellent question. Dad, are you hanging around still? Maybe, maybe not. All right, then we'll tackle this, which is I like the idea on the face of it for two reasons. One, we like to say big money makes bigger money. So we know that Annie's husband's benefit is larger because she mentioned that. So the 8% increase that he'll receive over the next 4 years is going to be more substantial than what Annie would receive by waiting for 4 years. But there's something else that we want to consider, which is, and I also really like the idea of the staggered approach, which is you're going to take advantage, even though you're not necessarily in need of income in this moment, you do want to start using that Social Security benefit. So I like the idea of taking the smaller benefit on the face of it, but why don't we do the math of what are you going to give up by waiting to take your husband's Social Security benefit? So we took the $4,500 that you let us know at 70 years old.
That's the end point. That's his maximum payout if he waits all the way to 70. And we minused the 8% increases
year over year. Exactly.
Over year to bring us to what he's giving up right now.
Right. So we took the $4,500 he'll get at 70. We subtracted 32% from it because that's the 8% difference over 4 years. That brings us to, we're projecting, and Annie, you're more than welcome to text in if we're off base here, but we're projecting that currently, if your husband elected to take right now, his benefit would be $3,150. So if he elected today, $3,150 over 12 months, that's $37,800 a year. Over 4 years, that's $151,200 that
you're leaving
Annie
on the table.
and her husband are leaving on the table with Social Security by giving it up. My only thought would be, why wait to take the social? And this is maybe our philosophical show. We have a new family member. We're all very reflective. Philosophically, it sounds like you are not in need of the capital to make your life work, because you mentioned that you don't need the cash flow at this moment. So that sounds to me as though you may not need the cash flow down the line. We heard that you have pensions, but we didn't find out, are those pensions joint and survivor? So, Annie, if your husband does predecease you, are you going to be able to take 100% of his pension? If yes, we know that you'll still keep your pension, you'll keep his pension, so your income from that perspective will not change at all, which says to me you might not need the income long term. Why give up $151,000?
And how long of taking an increased benefit do you have?
It's going to take over 8. It's going to take about, I think it's 17 years. It's about the break even. So if you think, if hubby's going to make it to 87, you will have broken even. You'll essentially recoup the $151,000. But you're going to get, in a 4-year period, it's going to take you almost 12 to 17 years to make up what you lost in 4.
Why are we giving it up? You
so something to consider.
Right.
I guess that would be the con,
ends,
right?
You know what I mean?
The pro is your strategy, in my opinion, is sound. You're allowing the larger benefit to continue to grow, which makes sense. You're taking the smaller benefit. I also agree with that. The really amazing thing is that you and your husband are in a position where you're not in need of the excess of the capital that Social Security is going to create for you, but you worked for it, so why let the government hold on to it long term? The only reason that I would consider, the only opposition to that would be, Annie, if you're going to lose more than just your Social Security benefit if your husband predeceases you, so do we need to cover over some of that pension income that will be lost in the event that he does pass away before you? Then allowing the Social Security benefit to grow could assist you in covering over some of the lost income. So I would say that this is really going to be a feelings decision, which is a great place to be. I don't think you can make a wrong choice here.
No, there are no wrong choices. You can. Our texter is in a unique position of not needing the cash, but wanting to do the smart thing. So we can let the math dictate the answer, and let your comfortability with the story that the numbers tell ultimately lead us to where we want to go.
Right. Absolutely.
And Annie has a small little follow-up that I'll read. It says, "Hi, Annie again. What is your opinion about eliminating Missouri income taxes but increasing sales taxes? What is your opinion on the impact to seniors? Thank you." Philosophically, I agree.
Another philosophical?
Yeah, I do agree with the idea of sales taxes as opposed to, like, if I had to choose one or the other on the menu, I'd much prefer to negotiate.
Well, sales tax are consumption-based, which really
so
does...
So if I'm not consuming, I'm not paying. Whereas income, I'm working, so, like, I'm automatically. So if I had to eliminate one or the other, yeah, take the chains off my income, and I'll deal with the taxes as I consume.
I think that's a personal opinion. I think my personal opinion, if I'm thinking at it from a senior's perspective, is actually it probably would be more detrimental to seniors, because we find in our practice that the majority of our clients are in the lowest possible tax bracket. We talked about the 12% bracket being about, almost nearly $100,000 this year of taxable income. Not everything in retirement is taxable. We spent a lot of time on Roth. Not all of Social Security is taxable. So I think that we might see that, increasing sales tax would actually create more expenses for people in retirement than reducing than eliminating income tax. However, I do enjoy an elimination of a tax. At least our state government is considering an offset. So I find that to be responsible.
Look, I think there's a lot of creative solutions that one could implement if one was really serious about, trying to raise money while also lightening the burden. And so it's nice to know that we live in a state where they're exploring these options. And
Dad, did you want to jump in?
I love the analysis that I'm hearing. I don't disagree with any of it. So good job.
Oh, well, you're sounding great again. So if you did want to jump in, we're actually pleasantly happy to hear from you. Oh, until you became Darth Vader.
We've had a couple more text questions come through. We'll quickly get to those. And it says, good morning, Jeff, Erin, and Rob. I retired in 2024 with $12,000 in my HSA. I work part-time, 24 hours a week, but I was told I can no longer contribute to my HSA because I'm now on Medicare. Is my only choice to spend it down? Thanks very much for your wonderful show.
Yes. Unfortunately, you are no longer able to contribute to an HSA as soon as you enroll in Medicare. Actually, as soon as you enroll in Medicare Part A, you don't even have to take Medicare Part B to kick yourself out of HSA eligibility. The reason for that is you need to have what the IRS deems a high deductible medical plan in order to contribute to an HSA. Medicare is not a high deductible health plan. Therefore, you're no longer meeting the qualifications, even if you are using a medical plan to supplement your Medicare benefits that is HSA compatible. So that's another reason why, if you are still working, you do want to chat with a professional about if it makes sense to elect your Medicare benefits or not. In many cases, it does not. This is another example of, benefits that you could be giving up by electing Medicare. Now, in some cases, it may make sense to give those benefits up because you need the Medicare benefits. So, sometimes we do have to take the bad with the good, but in many cases, a lot of people are electing Medicare who didn't need to, and then, losing out on some benefits.
I think it's generally okay to say that until you leave your employer-based plan and elect Medicare, there's no reason to elect Part A on your Medicare benefits because it takes you out of the HSA loop.
That's exactly right. And if you think to yourself, oh, well, I don't have an HSA option right now, you never know what your employer might offer. And like we regaled the benefits of the HSA plan. So if you have the option for it, why eliminate that from your why eliminate that arrow from your quiver? Like that?
I do.
Thanks.
And our next texter writes, I have a Roth IRA. I now contribute to a 403B Roth. Can I do both at the same time?
Yes. You can do both at the same time, but you can only hit the maximum contribution across both.
Something to be aware of.
So you can do it arbitrarily, or you can, as we chatted with our previous texter, our 31-year-old earning $125,000, contributing everything to the Roth, saying maybe it might make sense to pull back on the Roth side and reincorporate that tax-deductible traditional side. If you have access to both in your 403B, you might want to do the same thing. How much do I need to contribute, or should I contribute to the traditional side to help with my taxes? I'll take the rest and put it into the Roth. Or you can do 50, or you can be arbitrary about it.
And Annie has sent us another text.
I love it, Annie.
Annie, thank you. You're the real MVP. Annie says we have $1 million in our 401k, which RMDs will kick in around 6 years. Our pensions are 75% of husband's $4,500 joint. Mine is 100%. At what age of husband's death would it need to be to break even regarding Social Security?
Oh, what age would it be to break even regarding Social Security? It's going to be 17-year break even, so 87 if you wait till 70 to take. Sounds like you're going to have a small loss of income, 25% from your husband's pension if he is the one that predeceases you. You have $1 million in retirement plan assets. We don't know if you're currently making distributions from those to make your life work. But it sounds to me, again, that you would be able to cover over the loss of pension with with distributions from retirement accounts if you're not currently taking from them.
My only concern with anything that Annie has wrote here is that she's alluded to the money being in the 401k as she approaches RMD eligibility. I would seriously consider moving that money at this point.
To an IRA.
To an IRA.
That's a great point. And we've chatted about this a few times now on the radio, which is that 401k plans are great while you're accumulating assets. That's, in fact, what they are designed to do. They're accumulation vehicles. They're really not distribution vehicles. So you may have decided to leave the assets inside of your 401k plan. You like the choices. You're doing the management. That's great. But once you approach required minimum distribution age, they are going to force the money out to you, and they're going to withhold 20% in taxes. That might not be what you want to do. You might want to be charitable and make donations. You might want a different tax withholding structure than the straight 20%. Using an IRA account will allow you to control distributions, control where the money goes. 401k plans do not make charitable distributions on your behalf. They cannot. They can send money to your address of record. They can send money to a bank account with your name, and some will send money to an IRA account with your name directly. So you have limited choices with your 401k. IRAs are going to open up more options for you. They're also going to create some more flexibility for you in terms of when, how, and how it's taxed. So that was a great catch, Rob. Definitely something to consider. And the other thing, and I know, Dad, you're probably thinking this, so I'll take the words out of your brain, which is, in most cases, you will have the opportunity to recreate exactly what you had inside of your 401k, inside of an IRA account. The fees might be slightly different. The expenses might be different, but you're generally using publicly traded options available inside of 401k plans. You can find those if you work with, if you don't go directly to a fund company and you work with a broker-dealer that will allow you to hold multiple types of funds inside of your IRA account.
Well, you really hit it on the head there, because at least with us, since we're required to find you the lowest expense basis for any mutual funds that you might be using, these would be the institutional class shares, which are frankly should be the same thing that you're using inside of your current 401k plan. We can really literally duplicate the choices that you have and obviously give you the whole world of almost unlimited choices, because our broker-dealer happens to have selling agreements with all the major mutual fund companies.
That's right. So anything that's publicly traded, we can hold inside of your almost everything that's publicly traded, we can hold inside of an account for you. And that's true of many broker-dealers. And it's also true of many independent firms. So like if you decide you want to be the manager of your assets, you still might have that option available to you.
Yeah, and Annie just sent us yet another text. Thank you, Annie. She said, "Sorry, I misspoke. Our money is now in IRAs. My bad." No, it's perfectly okay, Annie. I just wanted to let you know that if they were in the 401k still as you approach RMD eligibility, it might be wise to go ahead and execute that rollover. So it's good to hear that you're a step ahead and you're above board and ship shape, and we really appreciate the text this morning, so thank you.
And you know what? Before we get back to more of Annie's texts, potentially others, why don't we take our first break of this hour, and we will take the second chunk of our hour to have our Smart Choice About Your Healthcare segment.
And we have a few more texts to get to, so hold on right after these brief messages.
The Kolache Factory in Brentwood serves up sweet and savory kolaches filled with delectable ingredients, from bacon, egg, and cheese to barbecue brisket, inside a ball of sweet dough made from the finest, freshest ingredients. This Memorial Day, Kolache Factory pays tribute to the bravest of the brave military who gave their lives to protect our freedom. Trusted plumber for over a century would like to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Family-owned, Linux Plumbing salutes all the U.S. servicemen and women who made the ultimate sacrifice defending our nation.
At at Maryville University. We power dreams, not just degrees. For nearly 150 years, we've empowered graduates to build successful careers. At Maryville, expect a rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education in a diverse and inclusive learning environment. We help you take it to the next level, no matter what field you choose. Now is the time to turn your ambition into action and transform your dream into reality. Start your journey at maryville.edu.
Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant has been serving St. Charles and surrounding communities since 1991. We'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Gingham's is proud to honor our U.S. service members who gave their life to keep us free.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at Erin@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to Straight Talk on Retirement.
Big 550 KTRS.
That's right. I think we've got a couple more text questions. Why don't we hit those before our law? I promise we're not holding out till the end for our smart choices about your healthcare segment, but
no, it just exploded.
The texts keep coming.
And we don't want to. I want to get to everybody. So our next texter writes, "I am getting ready to purchase a new car. Approximate net price after trade is $50,000. Current sales tax rates will amount to $4,761. If income tax is eliminated and rates increased, hard to believe what the sales tax would be increased to. That is true.
A lot. It would be increased.
Yeah, they'd have to make up that income somewhere. But the counter to this would be, everything begins with choice. I mean, when you go to work, like no one asked you, like, hey, Rob, did you want them to take these taxes out? It's just gone.
Sure.
When you go and you purchase things, like you're making strategic choices, so you can kind of control the amount you're paying in taxes because it's all behavior driven. Whereas income taxes, you need to work. So
yes, that's true.
That was my only point with the. If you were in a straight consumption type construct, you have a little bit of control, outside of
all
food
of those,
and energy.
Right, but so those expenses, those will go up too. And in an environment where things have already increased over 40%, I think now we're going to put undue pressure on people, especially when we know that. I mean, it's interesting that we're having this conversation because we just heard from, Jeff Bezos, who said that the bottom half should pay zero income taxes. And I think that's a little out of touch because many people at the bottom rung do pay very little to nothing in income taxes because just like we talked about the different brackets, there are opportunities for people that are working to not already be paying income taxes, but everyone has to eat, everyone has to pay for energy, everyone consumes. So I think that puts undue pressure on people that have lower incomes. It also is, like we talked about, going to flip for our clients is going to make things a little bit more expensive. We don't have to. I think it wouldn't change our math, though, because we wouldn't have to account for income tax, but now we're going to have to account for everything being more expensive, so we probably build a very similar model.
I guess the long and short of it is there is no free lunch, and one way or the other,
someone's going to pay. They're
going to reach into the pocket. I mean, It just, and we've just had a follow-up comment because I guess this
hot topic.
This touched a nerve, and our commenter says, so as a retired person, I fund the state with income taxes paid while working, and now I continue to fund the state with increased sales taxes and retirement.
Agreed, man. Fight the system.
I totally understand it, and if I had my way, things would be a lot different. Just say that.
Robert Markham for president. You heard it here first.
It's coming.
Right. It's coming.
The campaign will be here sooner than it was like Christmas. It'll be here.
I actually think, Dad, I would love to hear your opinion on income tax versus sales tax.
Well, many people would argue that sales taxes are basically regressive, and so therefore what happens is those folks that at lower income levels would be hit more significantly, which based on our current tax structure would be true. On the other hand, for most folks that are at higher income brackets, the sales tax is really not a significant component to the determination of a purchase. And certainly if it was, especially in larger items like cars, et cetera, you would probably see the automakers, and that's really the biggest thing, automobiles, washing machines.
Durable goods, right, I think is what they're called.
Exactly. You'd probably see some pressure on prices.
Right.
So, it is what it is. I would prefer to go to more of a consumption tax, because I think that basically rewards people that are spending money. And, we all spend money, but again, as Rob was saying, it really highlights the choices that we have, unfortunately, being in the freest and fairest economy on the planet, the most competitive one in terms of pricing. Let's go for it. I'd love that.
All
okay.
Right. We've got a couple more text questions to get to here. And got Scott jumbled. Hi, Annie here again. Just wanted to say thank you for your service in helping listeners wade through these complicated topics. Also, I'd especially like to thank veterans, their families, and those we've lost on this Memorial Day holiday. God bless America.
Couldn't have said it better, Annie. Thank you for that.
And, we meant to throw in a little cheer, so thank you.
Holiday cheer.
Thank you for front-running that for us, Annie. And our next texter writes, Do you know if you need to list your qualified charitable distributions on your taxes to document how the taxable amount of your required minimum distribution is reduced?
So it is. Many broker-dealers now have introduced the ability that the 1099 is going to start reflecting charitable distributions. However, in the past, it did not work that way. So if you are still working with a broker-dealer or you are working with a broker-dealer who has not made that adjustment, you'll just want to hang on to copies of the checks or hang on to copies of your letters that prove that you made those charitable contributions, and then you are parsing it out on your return. There isn't a place to list where those charitable distributions went. The idea is that you're going to maintain the documentation that reflects that. Now, if you sent checks directly from your IRA account, you don't need to hold on to that information personally in your filing cabinet, be it electronic or in your desk drawer, because your broker-dealer is required. So the bank that holds your assets is required to keep copies of the checks that they sent out. So in any given year, you can ask them for copies of all of the checks that were distributed. You'll have that record. Or if you are audited for whatever reason, you could contact the broker-dealer and say, I need for this year all of the checks that were distributed, and they will be able to send you copies, which will reflect where the money went and who it was made out to, which would satisfy the IRS's curiosity.
Yeah, I would think that including it with your return would be certainly something that wouldn't be a negative thing to do.
Right, and also some accountants will require that you show that to them so they have proof because they also sign your return. Others don't have the same requirement, so it's good to have the documentation.
All right, and our next texter writes, Mr. Wonderful said that the reason young people can't afford houses is because they spend $27 on lunch. Why is the burden of cost placed on the consumer, not the company charging these insane prices? What can we do as citizens to fix these greedy CEOs? Well,
I think we've gotten a little off of our goal topic.
Yeah.
A little outside of our lane. I would say, as soon as Rob declares that he'll be running for president, he will add that to his campaign platform, a discussion on, pricing our young people out of the housing market. I don't think it's just because of the rising cost of matcha or anything like that. But
my campaign slogan is going to be these people have names and they have addresses. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
All right. right, then. Why don't we, do we have any other pointed text questions to get to?
Just one last one.
Okay.
And our texter writes, I would love to see income tax eliminated, food taxes eliminated, but increased sales taxes on cigarettes, alcohol, marijuana, luxury cars, homes over $1 million, boats, etc. Higher taxes on luxury items.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we have a great debate going. I would say this debate is also going on in our state Congress, so might want to direct some of these great thoughts there, too.
Sounds like our texter is angling to be my vice president.
All right, then. How about we take some time and discuss our smart choices about your healthcare segment.
And I know there was a little bit of housekeeping you wanted to get to in this regard.
I did. We received several calls, maybe 5 or 6 this past week, because many of our clients are receiving new Medicare cards with different numbers in the mail, and I'm sure many of you are thinking the same thing they were. Fraud, what's going on?
Right.
And so they gave us a call. Is this legitimate? I have things going on. I want to make sure I still have my Medicare. Did somebody get my Medicare number? What's the deal? So about 1.3 million people in the United States will receive a new Medicare Part A and B card that also has a new Medicare beneficiary number. So that's your Medicare ID number. It's technically called a beneficiary number. This was due to a fraud ring compromising certain members' personal information. Not all members are going to be impacted by this. The estimate was about 1.3 million. So of the 1.3 million, about 6 of our clients, it sounds like so far, were impacted by this fraud that must have compromised their Medicare ID number. If you get a new card in the mail, it is not a scam. It is your new Medicare card. If you did not receive a card in the mail, you are not impacted. So if you have any additional questions, though, we're going to have to direct you to Medicare at this point because that's all the information that we have. However, there are a few things I would point out because as this news is disseminated, that means now we have potential for more fraud, right? Some fraudster could start sending out new Medicare cards. I don't know what that would do, how they would take advantage, but that's not for me to know. If you've received a new Medicare card and you have questions about it, the first thing I would check is what did the envelope look like that you received it from? If it has the HHS seal on it, that's pretty legitimate. You receive information from HHS and the Center for Medicare Services by mail. That's the only way you generally receive information from them. You can also log into your Medicare.gov or your SSA.gov portal where you applied for Medicare and applied for Social Security, and you'll be able to see your Medicare card. If your Medicare card matches the new card, that means that's your new card. If you don't have if you have your old card with you and your old card reflects the same number online, you are not impacted. You don't have to worry about anything. It's always good to double check, but just know that, yes, this is something that's going on for about 1.3 million Medicare enrollees at this moment.
Yeah, it can be a little bit jarring when you get some envelopes or some mail that is official.
It looks official.
It looks official in nature, but doesn't quite add up to
what you've seen in the past.
Right, or what you were even expecting. So naturally, it's not unreasonable that you're going to have questions and concerns.
Always good to double check, especially things like that. But this is actually good in the sense that
they're ahead of the curve.
They're ahead of the curve, but also in the past, Medicare ID numbers were your Social Security number plus a letter. Now, this is a randomly generated string of letters and numbers that each Medicare beneficiary receives. So although a fraud ring was able to gain access to that, hopefully that really limited what information they were able to collect on you, but we certainly wouldn't want them filing claims against your Medicare number, messing up your Medicare, which is why CMS issued new ID numbers for everyone that was impacted. And then I would just go one step further and finally on this note say, if you have noticed incorrect billing on any of your insurance through Medicare, you might want to bring it to someone. You might want to bring it to your agent's attention because once we've uncovered a little fraud, that doesn't mean that there's not more out there. So that's always something to be diligent about, not just with your bank accounts, but also with, what you're paying, as you're receiving, those summary of benefits that say this is not a bill, make sure you actually had those services, or at least it looks like, you might not know every service you received during, a visit in the hospital, but were you in the hospital at that time? Did you see this physician? Did they order a test? Just make sure that what you're receiving is reflecting what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be an ongoing battle across all fronts because fraud is now just part and parcel of the world we live in. And they're becoming more
sophisticated.
Correct. And the tools that they're using are more sophisticated. So it's obviously going to be a cat and mouse game that we're going to be playing for the better part of the rest of our lives.
Now, let us not keep our listeners waiting any longer. I've already had them waiting 38 minutes.
Smart choice. Because you care, we talk Medicare.
Yes, and we are going to talk Medicare now.
We're going to talk a little bit about Ron. And Ron has an issue for the past. Yeah, well,
okay.
He does.
Okay.
And for the past 2 years, he's been on Medicare Part A and Part B. When he initially enrolled in Medicare, he elected to stay on his company's health care plan. They provided that to him. And
his retiree plan?
His retiree health care plan. And he decided to stay with that. He was happy with that. And
so he's using Medicare Part A and B along with a retiree medical plan offered through his employer to complete his Medicare benefits.
Everything was smooth sailing for Ron. But then the company decided to make some changes to that company retiree health plan that he was not completely enthused with. They cut some of the benefits that he liked. They increased the price on the other side. So Ron decided that, hey, I've got Part A and B. I'm good. So he disenrolled, and he's been flying casual ever since, or so he thought.
So he's only had Medicare Part A and B benefits. He hasn't added anything to that.
No Medigap plan, no Medicare Advantage plan.
No prescription drug plan.
No nothing.
Well, right. Okay.
I mean, he's got A and B.
Okay. So how did you hear about this?
Ron, unfortunately, ran into some health issues this year, one of which was osteoporosis.
So he was diagnosed with osteoporosis?
He was.
Okay.
And, from sitting down with his doctor and going through his diagnosis, he asked me, well, what would the potential cost be if I, say, fractured a bone? And, his doctor said it could be upwards of $30,000.
Oh, my God.
And the problem is that Ron only has Part A and B. And that's only going to cover 80% of his potential cost. So in our example, God forbid he did fracture that bone and he was left with a sizable bill, 20% of that $30,000 would not be covered. That would leave him with a $6,000 exposure.
And that's just estimated because, one, obviously the doctor is estimating what the treatment would be for a broken bone. But that 80% of medical expenses is an actuarial value, which means that that's estimated. It won't necessarily be exact. So it could be more than $6,000 depending upon how the claims were processed under Part A or Part B. So Ron's looking at some pretty significant liability ongoing.
Beyond we haven't even got into, there are no dental vision, hearing. There's none of those benefits with just A and B.
So we have no extra benefits, and most likely, with a retiree plan, Ron was probably accessing at least dental and vision. Probably not a hearing aid benefit, no silver sneakers, none of that, but he was at least getting the dental and the vision component. That's now gone. He also had a prescription drug component here. That's also gone, and I know that oftentimes osteoporosis is treated with medication. Some of it can be pricey. There's usually injections involved, rather. So now we know that Ron has ongoing medical needs in conjunction with a potential for, with osteoporosis comes a higher probability of broken bones, unfortunately, which means we know that there will be other medical expenses down the road that need to be accounted for.
And that's just looking at, one potential
situation. Right, that we're not even considering.
We're not considering that,
other medical needs.
As you like to say, what if it was the worst year of your life medically?
Right.
Normally we're talking about that situation in the construct of a max out of pocket of what what your maximum liability would be if, you broke your leg, you also broke your ankle, you stepped off the curb wrong 3 months later, like, oh my God, it was just a series of unfortunate events. What is my bottom line number? I guess to cut to the chase, in Ron's case, there is no bottom line number because that 20% is potentially unlimited.
Right, because Medicare Part A and B make up 80% of your medical expenses. The reason that we focus our attention on talking about Medicare Advantage plans or supplemental plans is because, or Medigap is what those supplements are sometimes referred to as, we are trying to fill that 20% gap for you. Now, there is a cost-sharing component when you fill the 20% gap. Either you are cost-sharing by paying a premium, or you're cost-sharing by paying co-pays and having a maximum out-of-pocket with Medicare Advantage. If you have nothing, you have A and B, which makes up 80%, and then you have no top-end protection, which means, just like Rob said, if you have $1 million worth of medical bills in a year and only A and B, you could potentially be paying over $20,000 in medical expenses in a single year.
And, and having, right now Ron doesn't have any Part D drug coverage. Having that Part D drug coverage is also going to get that ceiling over your head, meaning
That's right. There's a max out-of-pocket on your prescription drugs now of $2,100.
$2,100. So as long as the drugs are on the formulary, they'll be covered.
And most likely he's on a med.
Right. And your max cost will be $2,100. Again, provided that you're
using
enrolled,
a policy.
Exactly. And every month that you're not enrolled in a Part D drug plan, that's a 1% penalty, and that's a lifetime thing. So
that means that, and Ron didn't mention when he lost his coverage, because not all plans terminate December 31st. So it could have happened relatively recently even. So we'll have to see what potential penalty he has. But what I'm more concerned about is we're outside of annual enrollment. We're outside of open enrollment. We're outside of Ron's initial election period. Most likely, if Ron dropped his employer-based plan, we're outside of a special election. So Medicare does allow for voluntary disenrollment from a plan to be considered a special election into Medicare benefits. So that means if Ron had called Rob or Frank prior to dropping his employer plan and said, I don't like this anymore, I want something else, we could have, within a 90-day window, transitioned him to something that would cover that 20%. But we're past all that now, unfortunately, right?
We are. And luckily...
Well, what is Ron to do?
Well, right now we have a special election period for Missouri because we're under a disaster designation.
Oh, that's right. We had that We had the disaster enrollment period available through Medicare that was running. How long does that last?
That lasts till the end of June. He's got till June 29th. And so thank God he called us, because if we weren't operating under that special enrollment period, Ron would be kind of stuck until open enrollment.
So because Ron lives in the state of Missouri,
and because he didn't make any changes
with Medicare
Advantage during the open enrollment period
or the annual
enrollment from October to December, and then from January to the end of March, he is now eligible to take advantage of this special enrollment period.
I think it's like, I'm not exactly sure what's called, natural disaster enrollment period.
It's a FEMA designated natural disaster designation.
Gotcha.
And so we're going to use that to get Ron enrolled in a Medicare, and that's going to do a couple things. Number one, it's going to stop the
Part D penalty.
Right. We're going to stop that cold. Number two, it's going to put that ceiling above Ron's head. So now we're going to know, worst year of your life, you have some, max out-of-pocket protections that are going to keep you away from a potential unlimited situation with vis-a-vis that 20%.
And also he's going to actually add some prescription drug coverage that, like you said, eliminates the penalty, but also puts some protection in there.
And I didn't even get into all the dental, the vision, the hearing, the
because that really comes secondary to solving.
We're so consumed with getting the max out of pocket and that ceiling above his head so that he doesn't have these potential costs, and stopping the time clock on that penalty.
So let's kind of talk a little bit about what happened here. Ron made a decision, which was sounds like a smart one. Didn't love what the benefits looked like. Didn't love the cost that he was going to pay, but he left himself open to quite a bit of liability. Now, if this was June 23rd instead of May 23rd, Ron would have to wait from
July 23rd.
July 20th. from July 23rd all the way until December 31st in order to be enrolled in a new plan that would start January 1st. So in order to elect a Medicare Advantage plan or to couple with his A and B benefits, if we didn't have this natural disaster election period available to us in Missouri, Ron wouldn't have very many choices. Now, I'm sure that some people are thinking, well, what about the supplements? What about the Medigap policies? If you are outside of your initial election period with Medicare, you have to go through medical underwriting in order to obtain a supplemental policy. Now, with a diagnosis of osteoporosis, that might table Ron, meaning it might make things more expensive, or it might outright say that he is not eligible, that insurers aren't going to take him because they know that there's a medical expense out there, not to mention the fact they know there's a Part D expense out there because he's going to have to take most likely injections for that osteoporosis. So knowing that we can very easily get Ron into a Medicare Advantage plan, put him in a situation where now he has coverage for his prescriptions, he has coverage for if anything comes up medically for him, and also he'll have protection if the doctor needs to run more tests, do more labs for his new diagnosis. And that would be effective June 1st.
It really is all about the protection and limiting your exposure to these, what could be limitless medical expenses.
So it's definitely important that when you're making decisions about your Medicare benefits, especially if you're coupling them with other products like Ron was using a non-Medicare based product he's using his retiree plan, you want to check before you make a decision, before you pull the trigger. Like I said, Ron didn't make a bad choice in that saying, hey, I didn't want to keep this employer-based plan any longer, but he didn't complete the thought, so to speak. We didn't see, well, what are we going to couple with this? And that's simply just because he didn't know it was necessary.
Right, and it's not the things that... Right, it's the things you don't know that'll get you nailed to the wall. So you really want to know before you go, and that's why it's so important to sit down with a professional.
So the great news is Ron found this out early, and so we'll be able to help him out for a June 1st effective date with a Medicare Advantage plan that has his physicians and his new prescriptions in there, and he'll be able to reevaluate this at the end of the year and not only choose again, but continue to have comprehensive coverage, no penalties. So, again, if you're making some choices, it's always good to consult with a professional. And with that, I think we're going to take our last break of the hour. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Jacob.
And I'm Beth Jacob. We're the owners of Jacob Showers and Baths.
We specialize in helping seniors age in place with bath and shower designs that are both safe and aesthetically pleasing. We can replace your current tub with a low-threshold walk-in shower, add grab bars and seats, and the shower floor is a non-slick surface. Come visit our showrooms in Fenton and Fairview Heights.
Mention the McGraw Special or select the McGraw Show from our drop-down menu online. Our phone number is 800-222-6676 or visit us online at jacobbaths.com.
Hey, it's Julie Buck for our friends at Triad Bank. They are a full-service financial institution, and they've been in St. Louis for over 20 years with 2 locations, one at Clayton and Lindbergh, and the other one just west of 270 on Olive. If you've got your own business and you want to have a better banking experience, look no further than Triad Bank. Their mission is to provide a wide range of commercial and personal banking services to you and your business. For more, go to triadbanking.com.
Repairing chimneys, walkways, porches, foundations, entire homes, anything to do with brick or stone, you need a tuck pointer you can trust, and that, of course, is Morelli. Morelli is a family-run business started in 1991, and they're only as good as their last customer. That's why when you check out the reviews online at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll notice that they're actual customers who are singing the praises of Morelli. So if you need a tuck pointer, you need Morelli. 314-645-1387 or MorelliTuckPointing.com.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, at Erin@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to the last part of hour number 2, Straight Talk on Retirement, but there's still time. If you have questions, please give us a call, 314-931-5877 or 84126 on the KTRS text line.
And we had a texter write in. Thank you for your engaging Medicare topic. It seems to me that max out-of-pocket prices have gone up on HMO and PPO plans. Do you think this trend will continue?
So if we look just over the last couple of years, yes, maximum out-of-pockets have gone up. However, this tends to be cyclical because if I look back to when I started my Medicare career, and that was almost 15 years ago, the current Aetna HMO, I think it's called the Signature HMO now. What is that maximum out-of-pocket?
$3,400.
$3,400.
Was $2,700, so that's it.
Okay, so $3,400 is what it is this year. Last year it was $2,700. When I started 15 years ago, this policy was called the Coventry Gold Advantage Plan because Coventry was purchased by Aetna about 10 years ago at this point. So prior to that, it was Coventry. The maximum out-of-pocket the first year I started selling Medicare Advantage was $2,300. Last year, the maximum out-of-pocket on that same plan over the course of time has gone up to $3,400. It has dropped back down to $2,700, and now it is at $3,400. So in Missouri and Illinois, we are very price sensitive to the maximum out-of-pocket. So the plans do attempt to really accommodate that preference and keep our maximum out-of-pockets lower. You may have noticed that other benefits tend to change even more dramatically than our maximum out-of-pockets. So with Medicare Advantage plans, they all emanate from the rules and regulations that CMS, the Center for Medicare Services, sets out. So they cannot randomly make the decision to increase your copay by $100 because Aetna didn't have a great year last year, or United can't say now your maximum out-of-pocket's $10,000 because we need to make up some expense and we're going to do it on your back. They have to follow the rules and regulations that Medicare sets out, so you have quite a bit of protection, which is why you do see changes from year to year with Medicare Advantage, but they're generally in a relatively tight area.
I agree.
All right, and it looks like we've got a caller on the line. This is great. Good morning. Good morning. You had a question for us?
Yes. My wife and I have long-term medical insurance. So if something happens to either one of us, we're covered for up to 5 years.
Great.
The cost. And the premium continues to go up. When we started, we were paying, I think, $4,000 a year. Now it's $7,000, and I'm wondering if it would be better if I took that $7,000 and invested it into my IRAs for a better return.
Joe, can I ask you? I won't ask how old your wife is, but may I ask how old you are?
We are both 76.
I won't tell her you said that on the air.
That's all right.
So I would consider every time you see a premium increase not offered, told to you by your insurance company, they often give you options to modify your benefits to reduce that premium increase or potentially eliminate it.
That is correct.
I would definitely, before completely tossing the long-term care benefit, because I know that the age continues to push out for when the average person needs long-term care, but at 76, right, you and your wife are definitely approaching that within 10-year mark of someone possibly needing long-term care. So I would consider taking a look at what some of those other options are in terms of reducing benefit period, reducing the inflation rider, reducing the dollar per day benefit. They usually have a few varieties available to you. I would either go back to the agent that you were working with that sold it to you, or, if you and your wife sit down and say, this is what we're comfortable with, I would potentially use a step-down approach versus completely tossing the policy, because if we considered it like a 10 or even a 15-year period, $7,000 is going to be either about $70, or if we go out, 15 years, we're looking at maybe like about $100,000. That's not going to compete, and even with some growth in there, that's not going to compete with the current benefit that you've purchased if one of you is in need.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Dad, did you want to add?
Yes, I do. I thought that was a very good answer, and I probably would have shortened it by saying, my friend, you're closer to using the benefit than you aren't. And so having already invested as much as you have in the contract, and we've done this recently where we've done some stepping back of benefit periods, maybe getting rid of or reducing or stopping inflation riders, can be expensive, but it would be imprudent, I think, at this point to drop that coverage unless you can't afford it.
That's right. And it would also be imprudent not to tune in to us next Saturday from 9 to 11 on Straight Talk on Retirement. We'll see you next week.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008.